Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Jeff Has Cool Friends. I'm Jeff May and I have cool friends. That's so exciting for me and also my friends because they find out they're cool. I'm actually here with one of my favorite people, one of my best buds, somebody that I have spent numerous hours in numerous vehicles traveling to different places with. One of my favorite people, one of my old bosses, just an all-around multi-hyphenate, Dave Igo. Dave, how are you, man?
Good, man. Yeah, vehicles and hotel rooms and shared bathrooms and stuff.
We've shared many. You, by definition, were one of the only people to know that I was even on a game show. Mm-hmm. You were the first person to find out that I got the Netflix show because I got the call while you and I were driving to PowerCon.
That was a fun time. It was PowerCon and Good News Con because Good News, it happened.
Yes. Yeah, it was like because it was a speaker and it was on speakerphone and the guy's like, "Congratulations, you got the show." And I had to look over at you like, "You didn't hear that."
Yeah, no, this is a friend EA situation for sure. Yeah. It was it was necessary. Yeah. I was in the car, you were in the car. It's kind of like I can't jump out of the car. We're on the freeway, I couldn't pull over, you know?
Yeah, I've so for those of you that are not aware, Dave, we met at Sideshow, where we both used to work, and we both left independently. And then when I left Sideshow, and you had already established yourself with Tweeterhead as their creative director, is that right? Mm-hmm. And I mentioned to you, I was like, "Hey, you're not the only person to leave Sideshow now," and you were like, "Get your ass over to Tweeterhead." I did Tweeterhead social media for a year. It was great. I was glad to be able to do that. Lots of fun. And now here I am. We've done so many cons together.
Hopefully more cons too if you're down. Like it's always fun. You're great, obviously an awesome person, but like it's fun and amazing watching you like work the floor, engage with fans. You're very knowledgeable of a lot of nerdy things, which might be shocking to people listening to the show.
There's a lot of my you guys make a lot of stuff that is in my wheelhouse very specifically, so it makes it very easy. You're like, "Jeff, quick, do you have any facts about Batman or He-Man?" I was like, "Oh, how much time do you have?"
Yeah, I could like leave the booth and be like, "Nope, Jeff's got it," and then just come back and so you'd be like, "Bah, bah, 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 did you know that?"
Well, you're the mayor of whatever convention you go to, which is very like every time like, and because Val made the comment because we were in the booth together because Valerie was working the booth with us, by the way. She had a blast. San Diego Comic-Con. And she had a blast. She went in totally terrified because she's like, "I don't know what I'm doing." And it's like, there's 6 things. Like, you're going to be fine. Yeah. And she did fine. But she looked at you holding court and she was like, "Man, I thought you were the mayor of whatever convention you go to." And she's like, "Look at Dave." Like, she's like, "The con hasn't started and there's 6 people around him." Which is very fun. You are so incredibly talented, and it's fascinating to me because you take a very behind the scenes approach to all this stuff where a lot of people that work in art, a very important part is branding themselves and pushing themselves forward. And you're not like that.
It's weird because I feel like I kind of am naturally that on a con floor, but like when it comes to like online presence, I'm not really like I have like 1,000 followers on Instagram or something like that. I feel like, working, for 13 plus years while my first job, Sideshow, and, now another 3 years at Tweeterhead, I've always had a job. I feel like I've never really needed to promote myself or my own personal.
You're promoting getting insurance.
Yeah. So it's like I just was, I'm like, I have a job. I don't need to submit portfolios. I need to get my art out there. But at conventions, I was always like rubbing elbows, meeting people because I just love to talk to people, engage with people, and you never know who you're going to meet and who you become friends with.
You're originally from Colorado.
Yes, sir.
And I'm originally from New England, and there are 2 very conflicting conversational styles that we have, and it really clicked me at one event where I was trying to get information from somebody at a con and I forget which one it was, and I could tell that you were not used to that style of conversation where I was talking to somebody working at the con. I was like, "Well, I just need this information." And I was talking really fast, and you put your hand on my shoulder to like calm me down. You're like, "I got this."
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I left laughing because I was like, "Oh, he thinks I was yelling at that guy."
The guy probably thought you're yelling at him too.
Probably. And I was like, "No, I'm just trying to make this efficient for all of us. I'm giving you the pertinent information and I'm asking for you to help me out." And I was laughing my ass off about it because after the fact, I was just like, oh, Dave thought that I was being like mean to this guy.
At least we communicate well with each other. So that's why I put my arm on you right away. I was like, I got this.
Oh, I knew exactly. Like
So-
I knew exactly at the time. I was like, oh, he's gonna pull me back. Like, I got that, and I laughed about it too, because like, you know, I don't take that personally either. Whereas I was just like, oh, Dave's Colorado-ness is bristling up against my Bostonianness, and
I don't even know if it's a Colorado thing, but it might be.
You're super chill.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks.
the reality is you're just super chill. And I'm chill in like a bit large scale, but when it comes to like interpersonal interactions, I try to cut the fat off of it.
Yeah.
And I guess when it comes to like businessy interactions, when it comes to hanging out, I just talk all day.
Yeah.
So you and I, we have very similar likes, which is, I think, why you've really done great at Tweeterhead with the DC property and Motu. Like, you and I are big He-Man guys. We both like obscure villains, whereas you're a big Merman guy, right?
Yeah, I don't even know if like he's as obscure as like I love Snout Spout as well, and I'd say he's one of the more obscure ones just because he's so ridiculous. There's like, here's a buff dude, let's put a mechanical elephant head on him. I'm like, I love it.
Those later era, like the 1986 and 87 Masters of the Universe action figures were very interesting because they're like, I don't know, an elephant guy? I don't know. What about a guy that we could just pull the arms of and he's taller?
Yeah. Extendar or whatever. Yeah, and then they had one of the best characters, Scareglow, which is like, why did they have a glow-in-the-dark skeleton warrior like earlier, you know? It's like, why did it take so long to get to him?
I mean, you need, because that's that gimmick. Remember, glow-in-the-dark is always the last gasp of a dying toy line.
I disagree. I think glow-in-the-dark can be that, but can also be just amazing. So it depends.
Do you know how, well, it's not amazing, but you ever see how valuable the glow-in-the-dark Ghostbusters are?
Mm-mm.
They are, because they're the last run.
Oh,
because it's that last, we need to get kids buying these again. What gimmick haven't we done yet? And so those glow in the dark any last run of an action figure is going to be worth a ton long term.
Yeah, because they short sold them or whatever. Yeah.
And boy, let me tell you, those glow in the dark Ghostbusters, they're worth a fortune. But yeah, you're a merman guy, and you've actually been able to do you've pulled your personal strings in the business aspect of Tweeterhead to get merman to be a piece that you guys are selling now.
Yeah, it was actually I think it was the first one, because this is the Legends line that we're making at Tweeterhead is kind of continuation of what we started when I was at Sideshow.
The spiritual sequel of what Sideshow had.
Yeah, and we never got to make a merman when I was there, and so when the line stopped and I was trying to help Tweeterhead get the line going, I was doing my own like little fan art bust in ZBrush, and merman was the first one I did because he was my favorite, and I was like, oh, this is fun, and then we used that as like a jumping off point when the statue was able to happen.
Yeah.
So
it's cool that happened, and a real bummer for me to know that I am never going to get my guy.
Who?
Clawful.
Who?
Clawful.
I know it's Clawful. Dude, I can't imagine us not doing Clawful one day. It's just like right away doesn't make sense, but like I have my big NECA statue and I love him to death, and I'm like, I want to do that.
Here's the thing is there's no room for Clawful on the top of the checklist. Like, Clawful is going to be deep. Like,
he's not going to be as deep, I don't think, as like other characters would be, but like he's a cool monster. I think he's kind of like in the same wheelhouse as like Whiplash, Spikor, and Webstore. It's like they're all like right there with each other. I'm like, oh, who do we do first?
He has kaiju energy, which I think is good for that run. Yep. Your heroes, you want to do, heroic, character in whatever heroic pose. But yeah, you do get to play with the monsters a little bit more. I would assume, and obviously I can't, I mean, you guys are NDA'd to hell, so I can't get that. But like, if you were to do like a Webstore, who's like a spider character, would you pull away from the bulkier aspect and make him more of like a spindly character?
Yeah, that's where it like gets kind of tough. You don't want to make it such a new redesigned character that people are like, oh, it's not my Webstore or whatever. So it's like, how do you make that work? And then it helps us see other iterations of Webstore that have become really popular, like the 2000X one, the Four Horsemen designed is amazing. Like I have this I forgot what like Stanction or Staction or whatever they call it. Like
they
action
couldn't make
statue.
Action figures because they lost the license, so they made mini statues.
Yeah, and I
they were
love
just action figures,
that take on him. So it's like I could see definitely be like an evolution of that, where he's not super spindly, but not a buff swole guy. Actually, fun thing recently was I finally finished the CG, the new He-Man CG show, the one for kids.
Oh, the kids one, yeah.
Dude, they have an amazing redesign of Web Store in there. I'm like, holy crap, that's awesome. They have some really cool stuff.
Their design stuff is great. I hope that takes off, because I hope that show does well, because their design is really fun. It has a Clone Wars energy.
Yeah,
to it.
I couldn't get into Clone Wars person. I was more of a 2D Clone Wars guy. Gendy stuff. Yeah, dude, that stuff blew my mind. I love it. And then the 3D stuff came out I think it was the original movie that came out there, released in the theaters. I was like, womp womp. I couldn't get into it. Yeah. I hear amazing things about it. I should go back, give it a chance. But like, because I'm working on He-Man, I'm like always trying to immerse myself in everything He-Man. And so, Revelation came out. That was very polarizing for a lot of people. I enjoyed a lot of it. And then I was like, I got to jump into this kids show. Yeah. And there's some great redesigns and some story ideas. Like, I love one thing I love about He-Man and Masters of the Universe is how many different takes on the characters there are. It's not just like, oh, here's the story.
And there should be, I think.
Yeah, it's like there's the original mini comic, was way more Conan, then there's the Filmation cartoon, and then the live action movie. Those are three very different things. Then they had like the New Adventures space redo, then they had 2000X, and they have all the modern comic book stuff, and now this new kids show. I don't even want to call it a kids show. It's definitely aimed towards kids.
It's a kids show.
Yeah, but like I loved it as an adult, and so that's the great thing is like with the Legends line we're doing is like, what is that world? Like, what could this story be? And just making it a little bit different,
Yeah, it's definitely, the version that you guys have created is very, very sort of like, what if you were making a live action film of these characters?
Yeah.
And they're great. Like, we had talked a lot. I remember you did you were talking about when they were designing Trapjaw, and the way you described it is, I want somebody to get tetanus if they touch this. Like, that's the energy that we're going to have on this.
Yeah, dude, Trapjaw was one of the hardest ones to do, because it's like, he's my second favorite character right behind Merman. Merman felt like I did the little bust. I worked on it with Amilcar Fong, who's an amazing designer, sculptor, and we just kind of worked on it together, and just the solution came really easy. With Trapjaw's work with Geo Nakpil, who's also an amazing sculptor designer, and the Kucharic brothers helped do early design stuff too. And it's like, how do you take mechanics and make it work in this version of He-Man? And I was trying to think of like, what could we do? Well,
Trapjaw, the character of Trapjaw, this has just become like a Motu podcast, which I would be fine with.
Yeah.
But the character of Trapjaw, for those of you that are not aware, he essentially is like a steampunk zombie cyborg. Is the bet, like, if you were to make a steampunk cyborg, meaning like a lot of like old timey, like the joints are rusty and old, and it's not like this smooth functioning aspect, but very dangerous, and like with this undeadness to this character.
Kind of, yeah, because in the original like toy and cartoon, which I think people are familiar with, he just was like a dude with a metal jaw and then a robotic arm that was really stiff. He didn't even have an elbow joint. He just like would point his shoulder, and that was it. So it's like
he looked like a pirate. At that time.
He was so bizarre. He's such a weird guy.
Yeah.
I think the thing that made Trapjaw really awesome for me was 2000X. They just like, I have the big NECA statue of that too. And I'm like, that's the best Trapjaw ever. Like, how can we...
It's a great redesign. Yeah, they bulked him out real good in that one too.
Yeah, they made his arm really big and gave him all these wires and stuff. And when we were working on these redesigns, I was trying to figure out like rules for this world, like our take on He-Man. I was trying to avoid wires as much as possible, because I'm like,
it's a statue. You don't want to do wires anyway.
Not only that, but also just like I always hated like watching a movie and these characters have these exposed wires. I'm like, dude, if someone just clipped that wire, you're screwed. It's just like, how do you just make it not that? And then talking with Geo, I was like, how do we do this arm? I'm like, Trapjaw is a bad guy, so he has to look like a bad guy. How do you make that like immediately recognizable, besides like his stance, his facial expression, knowing who
How do you
he
make it recognizable aside from his face and body and stance?
I mean, but like, it's like the armor design, I think, too, has to kind of emote that. And so I was like, I was really inspired. One of my favorite movies is Lord of the Rings. The Peter Jackson trilogy is amazing. And how Weta brought together, like, how they made the orcs come to life. And I was like, man, I want Trapjaw to have some of that. Like, if those orcs continued to exist and then had technology and got to steampunk, like you mentioned, like, what would orc armor steampunky stuff look like? And it would not be like all these
interesting.
Yeah, so that's totally where my mind was going. And
that's cool. That's really interesting. Okay, yeah.
So if you look at his armor design, you should be like, there should be like, oh, that feels, Weta Lord of the Rings ish.
I know. Obviously, you love the fans when you work for a company like this, because they're the ones that keep a company.
Fans.
Well, that what I was going to say. Yeah, it's kind of that, because obviously, the fans are the ones that, they're the ones that are showing up and buying things. And no company exists without people to buy their shit, if that's the case. If you're making a product and nobody buys the product. So fans or whatever. One of the things I saw, this trap jaw, when it was put out there, looks amazing. And I saw somebody, several people in the comments whining that it wasn't a janky straight hook.
There's maybe two people, I think, that mentioned that. I know exactly
the toy from 1983. And they're like, why can't it be like this piece of toy that I had growing up? And in my head, I'm just sitting, and I've gone on record as saying this. We've had this discussion a lot. There's a difference between the nostalgia of loving something that you loved as a kid and holding on to that nostalgia and carrying it with you. You've seen my collection. Mm-hmm. You've seen, I've got carded Masters of the Universe. I think the peak form of pop art is the Masters of the Universe, as a carded Masters of the Universe figure. The red with the blue and the way,
not a Polish bootleg of say.
I love, but so I love that, right? Yeah. But these people that are showing up and they get mad that something isn't the way it was as a kid, or it's not like the way it was in 1984. And it's like, or they'll pretend that the show was somehow better than it was. Yeah, yeah. It's a show that I have several animation cells of. Mm-hmm. A show that I have carried an obsession with for nigh on 39 years at this point in time, or 38 years. And yet I am smart enough to recognize that it's not a great show. It's a great memory.
Yes, that's a perfect way of putting it, for sure. Because it's like you want to channel what you remember, not make it a carbon copy of exact. And that's also a thing you can do too. Like, that's not to take away from that. Like, Pop Culture Shock way back when did these animated, like, Filmation style statues in quarter scale years ago. And those are great.
I remember they're great, yeah.
If that's what you want and that has straight arm trap jaw and that's cool. The goal with this line is to, what do I remember as what do I imagine I think I saw when I was a kid?
Yeah.
You know?
Like how was I when I was playing with these action figures and banging them together, what was the cinematic aspect of that in my head as opposed to these two avatars of this character growing up?
Yeah. Like, otherwise you'd be like, all right, cool, he doesn't bend at the knees because my action figure didn't bend at the knees. It's like, dude, shut up. That's not like, the left arm only swivels at the shoulder. It's like, shut up. No, I want to make him bend at the elbow too. You know,
I don't see the problem with that.
Yeah.
And so when I see people complain about it, that was always the hardest thing for me, even when I was doing the social media, because you have to exist on a different plane versus my personal self versus talking on behalf of a social media and interacting with people when they'll be like, oh, this isn't the one that I want. I'm like, oh, hopefully we'll get you on the next one.
Yeah,
there's lots of great stuff to come around. And in my head, I was just sitting there just being like, what the do you want?
Yeah.
What will make you happy? And I think the answer is, if you gave away statues for free that looked exactly like how they remember not having to pay bills. And, I'll see the complaints now where they complain about prices. And I'm just like, bro, that's just the world right now. Like, things were cheaper back in the day.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yep.
They're not anymore. And this company will drown if they try to match the pre-pandemic prices. They can't survive.
And I think it's just a matter of making people feel heard and appreciate. Be like, dude, I hear you. I get it. It's not as cheap as it was, or this went up in price over the last year. Yep. We get that's the trap jaw you want. This isn't that. And like you said earlier, Jeff, maybe we'll come back around and do a more classic version of trap jaw. I mean, we did the classic He-Man on Battle Cat, which was to appease kind of like hardcore classic. I want the action figure come to life, and that's what that line is for. So it's like, and just proved we're doing.
And then people were mad that the scale was out of scale, that it was 1/6 scale instead of 1/5 scale.
Yeah.
And then you were just like, well, do you know how much more expensive it would have been? One of the things that I've noticed about you, still to this day, is that you personally will respond to people and their comments on Facebook, mostly that I see on a Tweeterhead post.
Yeah.
And you will reply and give earnest answers, and it shuts down people 80% of the time. And then the other 20%, it's just some people are stubborn ass. There's nothing you can do about that.
I think a lot of that has to do with how people would engage with you in real life. And if they're on the floor, at con and come up to me, they wouldn't be, to my face. Some have, and that's fine. Like I welcome anyone, like just as long as you're not going to threaten me or, whatever. When you engage with people online, then they feel like, oh, there's actually a person here that reads. I'm not just shouting into this void of this faceless company. It's like, it's important, I think, for me personally to give a face to the company, let people know like, hey, we're here, we're listening, we acknowledge you. And it's easy right now too, because we're not like a huge company. We have like 15,000 Facebook followers or something.
You're still a boutique.
Yeah.
Your Instagram following is a lot higher too.
Yeah, someone helped out with that.
Gee, how'd that happen?
I don't know.
But by the way, one of the things that's very funny is I research when people are going to be on the show, and I don't need to research you that much. I know you quite well. But the other thing, the searches related to David Igo is David Igo obituary, and I was like, all right, let's see what happened to this guy.
Killed that guy. Yeah, I killed him.
I
was like, there can only be
Highlander,
one.
yeah.
Did it say his head was missing? Because I chopped it off. No, this is bad.
right.
Whoever's listening to this probably knows that David Igo, and I don't know.
I sincerely doubt that.
Just like,
how big do you think my reach is?
it better be big enough to reach whoever is related to that Dave Igo.
I lost that Sideshow reach. That one. I'm just kidding. There was no reach. I thought there was. I'll be 100% honest with you. I thought that I was going to get a much bigger push from Side, which I get. I'm not a statue. Why would you keep posting about it?
Mm-hmm.
But there would be days where like the show would be up, and I'd be like, "Are you guys going to like tell people about the show?" And they're like, we'll get there eventually. We got 6 different statues we got to promote today. And I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of like a big deal. No? Okay. That it's funny that my listenership went up when I left Sideshow, which was a strange experience. I wasn't expecting that, but it was a good couple of years with them.
There might be too when you go on your own, you're kind of forced to like self promote a little bit more. Like maybe when you're there, it's kind of like, oh, they'll do this for me. And maybe they did in their own way, and sometimes you just don't see it because they do have like targeted newsletters and all that stuff. But when you're on your own, you're like, now it's all I mean. You have to put that much more into it.
There's very stepchild energy that came in with that because I was brought in to be like essentially a flagship podcast, and they ended up coming like very quickly after that of like grabbing another podcast group and bringing them in, and these guys who I'm sure are great got this like really great treatment for their shows, and I was always just like, well, why don't I get that? Like it was one of those things where I was like, I want that, and they were like, yeah, but we got to promote this. We got another Batman coming. We got to post the thing about the Batman. I'm like, well, why did you hire me?
Yeah.
But then it was interesting. It was definitely a really fun spot. I met a lot of very cool friends there too. You see, the name of the show goes.
How that happened? How did we meet? I forgot. Was it that?
We met on a tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I was petting your dog.
I forgot who. Oh, Luna, R.I.P.
Yeah,
the best doggo.
I was talking about Luna last night. Somebody brought one of those Mexican hairless dogs. That was like.
Did
Luna.
it have hair?
Yeah. No, it was hairless. And I was like,
one?
I was like, one of my very good friends had a hairy.
Hairless
Coco dog. And he was like, yeah, I guess it's 1 per litter.
Yeah, 1 per 6. Yeah.
And so I had brought up Luna, who was like essentially the sidekick of Sideshow.
Yeah, for a while she'd appear on any video I was on. Like they were very cool about letting me bring her into work every day and having her like if I was doing like an interview with whoever that day on camera, like Luna's head would pop up and then the feed would be like, oh, Luna, and that was always like awesome because she was a well-behaved dog. She wasn't there being a jerk or anything.
No, it was a really good dog. Yeah. I met you almost exactly 2018, the around Halloween of 2018.
I would know what year it was. They all blur together.
I'm going to tell you why I know this is because that was when I went to Sideshow to do their Halloween. It was on Halloween. I met you on Halloween.
That's crazy. This is like a 6-year anniversary.
I was on Sideshow. I was on Sideshow Live. It was me, Jen Muro, and Susan Damon was the host at the time. And you guys had like a costume contest and you walked in through the show and everything. And then we did like the tour and everything afterwards.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then it was not too long afterwards that they asked me to do the show.
That's cool.
Podcast. And then Susan ended up leaving and I ended up being the host. So people hated me for not being her, which I thought was very interesting.
That happens.
Yeah. Where they were just like, I don't like this guy. And I was like, is it because I look like an asshole? They're like, it's because you look like an asshole. Absolutely. It was a fun little Fun little project.
Sorry, my headphones keep slipping because my beautiful
You have
hair.
a beautiful mane of hair.
Yeah, so just like does not like to grip to the headphone top thing. It just like pushes
you can
it back.
pull it off of the hair.
Well, that's fine. I just want to let you know if I'm doing that. If you can hear it, let me know.
Yeah, you can break the fourth wall all you want and tell people what's happening. I wasn't even going to bring it up.
I took my shoes off for this, man. It's great. I love being in my socks. Yeah.
I saw that. You
Socks
took your moccasins off.
You know what's crazy? So I get a lot of crap for wearing shorts to a lot of things. And when I was, so when I used to work at Sideshow, when I showed up with pants, they'd be like, oh, Dave must have an important meeting today because he always wears shorts. I'm like, I'm going to make shorts popular. And it was crazy watching part of the Wakanda Forever red carpet because Kevin Feige, right?
Feige, I think.
Just shows up in his baseball cap. That guy's always wearing his baseball cap, like some other people I know. But like,
I
love it was like red carpet, and he was like baseball cap. Don't care. I'm like, oh, that's my guy.
It's like seeing Dave Filoni in a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
That dude.
Cowboy hats, I feel like, have been accepted that way. As like, I feel
it's always a statement. A cowboy hat is always a statement.
It's always a statement, but I feel like it's been accepted in dress, like that kind of dress up community. Being from Colorado and Midwest, you see them like people dressed up in cowboy hats all the time. But you don't see baseball caps. It's more of a casual thing. So seeing people in a suit with a baseball cap, I was like, yeah, buddy.
I guess a cowboy hat is theoretically an older and more established style of hat. Mm-hmm. Whereas the baseball cap is designed to keep the sun out of your eyes. And I guess what the cowboy hat's designed to keep it off the back of your neck and the front and out of your eyes.
Yeah.
But you're right, because if, for example, like a baseball player, that's obviously not, that's casual.
Yeah.
But at the same time, so's a freaking cowboy.
Yeah.
They're all silly.
Yeah. The rules are weird.
I posted a video because I do the workout stuff off, sometimes. And I posted one from my car. It wasn't a video, it was a still, but it was me without my hat. Because
people like, who are you? Where's Jeff May?
Well, I wear a bandana. I have to wear a sweat catcher of some kind when I'm boxing, and a hat won't work because the brim means you can't get in close. So I wear bandanas a lot. So most of my videos, I have a bandana on, or I'm wearing a hat in photos, and then I'll post a photo or a video of me hatless, and they'll be like, "Wait, you have hair?"
Yeah. Who are? Yeah.
They're like, "You." Yeah, and I'm like, it's just a preference. I just like to wear that, but it's really fun.
I like wearing baseball caps too. But when I have longer hair, my hair becomes greasier immediately faster. So I stopped wearing it until I have short hair again. Then I'll go back to baseball. If I go bald, have such a weird shaped head, I'm gonna definitely be a baseball.
I feel like you're good. I feel like if you haven't started receding yet, you're edging 40 at this point in time. So if
my doctor said my hair was thinning, so I'm actually on a daily pill to help curb and prevent that. So I am on something.
You Propitian, bro?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
How is that? Finasteride, right? That's what it's called?
I don't know. But it's Propecia. And he said the only side effect is loss of sexual drive, but it's been fine. That has not been a side effect for me.
Yeah?
So, yep.
I already don't have one, so I don't know about that.
Just being asexual, I get so much more work done.
Dude,
I'm not focused on that.
I would kill for that.
Yeah.
I would kill for that aspect of it, and then I wouldn't.
Give me drugs so I'm not sexually driven.
I'm like, what's the form of asexuality where you can go J-O and not feel bad about it? Because that would be my jerk off.
Oh, I'm an idiot. Yeah. I think I meant like a term of like going crazy or going insane. I didn't know you meant. Yeah, anyways, this is fun. This is a good right turn in the conversation.
Honestly, no notes. This is exactly what I want out of this.
Perfect.
So now obviously we have that, working with Tweeterhead and originating out of Sideshow. And these are the jobs. These are the ones that pay the bills and that keep a roof over your head and everything like that. But you actually have a lot of other projects that you do that I really want to talk about. Before we do that, I just wanted you to know that if you are a member of my Patreon, which you totally are, Dave, and you sign up for the producer tier, you can pay a very affordable amount of money, and I will absolutely say your name on this podcast, which I'm going to do like right now.
Oh, dang.
For these people, and we can talk about this. We can do that. For example, I would like to give a huge shout out to, in Soviet Russia, we have cool Jeffs. You see that? Or you get the Aldo Vargas rookie card, everybody. Or Bauhaus. How about Koi Pham, art and mentoring? Do you know Koi Pham? Great comic artist.
Really?
Nice guy. Just a really good guy.
I probably recognize it like written You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's whenever I hear name, I'm like, whoa,
Yeah,
what?
Koi
And then when
Pham. It's Khoipham. Yeah.
I feel like I know that name.
He came. He was one of like Marvel's young guns. Him and Mike Choi were in that same.
They were in this. I
that
know it,
same
dude.
Run.
I think that was that was their first time promoting like a group of artists, and I forgot who else was in that, but I totally remember that.
I think it was like Dragota was in there.
They had 6 of them because I remember they did connecting covers. They'd have each of them do a cover, and if you got all 6 and pinned them on your wall, it'd be like a little mini like a poster, you know.
Yeah, I wonder because it was like 2004.
They had Young Gun. They had the first Young Guns, and they eventually did like a Young Guns 2 or something.
Yeah, because Marvel has had like the Young Guns process. Because I'm looking it up right now. Okay, so here are some of the alumni. People like Jimmy Chung, Steve McNiven, Lionel Francis Yu, Daniel Acuna, David Marquez, Sarah Pacelli, among others. And they did a lot of, and they still did it as of 2018. They were still doing that. I
remember when they first started doing it too. It felt like half of them were people that are already established comic artists, which is kind of crazy to me. They're like, oh, they're young. I'm like, dude, I'm young and I look up to these guys I feel are older than me. So it's like but it was cool that they're getting this extra like promo push, you know?
They deserved it.
Yeah.
I would say. And that would have been, I think I met Koi in 2007 or something like that. And he was just a great dude. So shout out to Koi Pham. And he was a guest so I've had 2 of the same class of Young Guns because Mike Choi and Koi have both been.
Oh,
on
that's
the show,
cool.
Yeah. Choi and Koi.
Joy Koi. They could have their own podcast.
Man, Choi and Koi. That would be an interesting. Like the thing is Koi was a lawyer. He was a Koyer. So Koi Pham was a lawyer, and then he has like very Jim Lee energy of leaving one thing to pursue another, to pursue comic art. And he's very like even keeled, very level headed. He speaks very deliberately. He's very patient. And Mike Choi is the opposite of that, because he talks a lot about it, how he has manic episodes and stuff like that. So depending on when you get him, he's like real high energy.
Yeah.
And it was like seeing them, it would be very odd couple for 2 people that are so incredibly talented.
Yeah.
Funny story, Mike Choi, when I was waiting to load up the Tweeterhead booth, and I was waiting in a line for 6 hours to get to the loading area. Mike walked over to hang out with me for like an hour.
That's so cool.
To just chill. That was really cool. But anyway, so shout out to Koi Pham, Nolan Void, Ricky Cilantro, Big Booty Boy, 42069. Maine, more than Stephen King. You ever been to Maine? Colorado.
No, sir.
You were in Colorado though. That's the Maine of the West.
I think the furthest northeast I've gone is New York.
You ever been to Massachusetts?
No. Mm-mm.
You should take Kelly to Salem.
Yeah. No, I know. That's on the list, actually. Yeah.
There was a big article about it, though, about how Salem was like, y'all need to stop coming here right now.
Yeah.
Because they had too many people having an influx in there. Because like their city's population is like 50 grand.
Yeah.
And like there was like 200,000 people showing up for Halloween.
Yeah, I would never go there during Halloween. That's like going to New Orleans during Mardi Gras.
You want to go early October is when you really want to go.
Fall.
Jumping rope, still a sport. Jeff not liking it, still a fact. You liar. That's not true. I like it. I do hate it. Bodacious Big Bad Bouncing Bollock Bonanza. Shout out to Jennifer Fendelander. Shout out to AV Foundry. Excuse me, at AV Foundry, who, by the way, sent me that Dark Face Grizzlor toy.
Oh, that's awesome.
So shout out to him. Shout out to Patrick Dore, Bart Fardigan, Rones, the best cat. Yeah, there's some fun ones in here. Shout out to Rones. Huey, check out Nerd with Dre and Jeff wherever Jeff May podcasts are found. I'm going to assume that is Dre Alvarez, who is the sponsor of one of my podcasts called Nerd, where we do a deep dive on nerdy shit. Rudy, Daft Punk has an anime Rueda.
So good.
Jeff hates competitive fun. You're going to see a lot of JHCFs in here. And about me not liking sports. Shout out to Goji. Shout out to Gregorio, the city council member of arts and culture of District 1, approves this podcast. Gregorio, are you a city council member? Good for you, dude. Odessin Molotov says, topple the patriarchy, get today. So there we go. They go all over the place. Gerard Ruane. Shout out to Farty Marty's Nerdy Party. Eat and die, Grand Canyon. You're a Grand Canyon guy?
I went there finally like 6 years ago, driving from Colorado out here. My brother drove it. Yeah, we drove it in like nonstop, and we got there right as the sun was setting. It was perfect.
Was it?
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that.
You should be interested in Sunset Grand Canyon. It's the better version of Grand Canyon.
Did you take a picture of it?
Probably. I'm not a picture guy, so Kelly and John probably took pictures.
I was going to say, send me the picture and I'll get the gist of it.
No, because you won't, and you don't deserve it.
See? I just...
You have to drive out there on your own. You have to earn it.
Show me in the rules where it says a dog can't play basketball. Shout out to Gray Man of the Nightmare Potluck. Everyone is welcome at the table. Shout out to Jeff using Deep Blue Sea memes to break bad news. Shout out to Tyler Wilgus, asking 7. In the time since he changed his name on this document, Jez Budd had a kid, got a new job, and got COVID. Jez, you need to update that name. It's been there for a while. Shout out to Kimball, the casual Frankenstein. Shout out to the Target loss prevention officer currently hunting Jeff. I shoplift M&Ms at Target. And
currently?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I buy my other stuff. I just grab the thing of it. And very recently, my producer, who knows very much about this, sent me a Target. It was like a news article or something about how they like aggressively go after shoplifters. And I was like, oh my God, I'm still doing it.
How old am I? Why am I doing this?
Because
I can afford these M&Ms.
I sure can.
You're just sticking it to the patriarchy.
Damn right
That's
I
what
am.
you're doing.
I'm getting today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Target with my shoplifting. There you go, Odessa and Molotov. You got a callback, we call that. Shout out to Steven. Shout out to, I'm having trouble reading this name because I am illiterate.
Was that Steven with a PH or a V?
P-H-E-N, yeah. Are you a V or a PH fan?
I've known V's most of my life, and then like since like 10 years ago, it was like, oh, PH is a thing. I just didn't know if like I knew that I learned the history of Allen, like A-L-L-A-N is the original Allen. And then
that's the Anglo-Saxon.
No, A-L-A-N is the original
and then
Allen.
A-L-L-E-N is that is not.
No, so
something
one
to do
L.
with...
So it was A-L-A-N was first.
Yeah.
Then A-L-L-A-N was second, and A-L-L-E-N was third.
And that happened after 1066, right?
Probably, I don't know.
That's because I think it was Allen. A-L-A-N is the Anglo-Saxon version of that, and then A-L-L-E-N is when the Norman conquest happened and William the Conqueror came in and everything became French.
I didn't know this.
I
I just know you're supposed to judge people based on if they have the original version or the not original version. So I didn't know if Steven with a V or PH was the original one. It's something we should look up later. For sure.
I will let you know that I am an A-L-A-N. That's my middle name.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I just learned something about my cool friend Jeff May today.
Jeffrey Allen May. Boy, I hate that name. So we got that going on there. Shout out to Cody Beck, Mike Gouts, Lisa McCarty at Comics Book Girl, comics with an X, girl with a U. And I'm gonna plug her. I'm gonna plug her store, Austin Books and Games, the Austin or Games and Books. I forget.
Austin's awesome.
Great
Austin.
comic book shop in Austin. By the way.
I'm gonna go there next time I'm in Austin.
And this is the 6-year anniversary. By the way, our recording this is the 6-year anniversary of when I filmed my failed pilot, the pilot that never got picked up by Sci-Fi. And one of my co-hosts on the show was also worked at that store. Yeah. Shout out to Ty Denton for that. So shout out to Dr. DNA, Aeschylus and his tortoise. Shout out to Hooray for Pontius Pilate. It's a very biblical reference there. Shout out to that scene in Meet Joe Black where Brad Pitt dies.
That's as far as I got in the movie because he gets hit by a car and he keeps bouncing between cars and I started laughing and then the next 10 minutes was boring, so I turned it off.
It gets.
But that moment was kind of
Did
like.
you see it in the theater
what?
or at home?
No, on TV or something.
Yeah. I know some people saw it in the theater and they were like, it was really funny in the beginning and then it got really boring, which is fair. I'm never going to have a history podcast, you little so stop asking. Mackenzie, Sisyphus may be happy, but he's into CrossFit, so chill. Is Sisyphus happy in the story?
I don't even know what is that like a Shakespeare thing?
Rolling the boulder up the
that
top
guy,
of the mountain.
Not happy.
So if you ever hear a Sisyphean task,
that's what it is.
Sisyphus.
I remember that, yeah.
Incompletable task. Instagram and Twitter's at Bob_of_skull. Shout out to Sergeant Pepper's hot dog flavored water. Shout out to Lemming Malloy, Norm from Cheers, Burrito mouth. You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Burrito mouth. We get those burritos from Cilantro Mexican Grill.
That's
It's
great
funny.
burrito.
Every time we have some kind of a meeting, you're always like, so we'll have it at my place.
Mm-hmm.
Do me a huge favor. Stop and get those burritos at Cilantro Mexican Grill.
Mm-hmm.
Those are a tasty treat.
So
Shout out to Dan Hackroyd. Shout out to, since it's October, that means it's Halloween. And if it's Halloween, then it's basically Thanksgiving. So if it's Thanksgiving, then it's essentially Christmas. So Merry Christmas, everyone.
Oh,
Huge news.
I'm out. Bye.
Huge news. This episode drops in November, even though we're recording it in October. So that being said, it is Christmas. It is for me anyway. I love Christmas.
I'm kind of anti-Christmas now.
Why?
I don't know. I just like the obligation of getting presents and stuff. And
That doesn't exist out here, though.
I don't know, man. Plus, I feel like Christmas just took over Thanksgiving time. And so it's like, it feels like it's the bully holiday, you know?
No.
Yes, it is the bully holiday.
Thanksgiving is halftime. So Thanksgiving is halftime between two good holidays.
We should have a whole nother podcast and get other people on here where we can have like a debate about Christmas and the holidays.
I've done this a million times, and I will stand by that forever. Thanksgiving is a placeholder, pardon the pun.
Nope.
That it holds that because so what do you eat at Thanksgiving that you also don't eat on Christmas?
Dude, Thanksgiving is turkey, Christmas is ham for me.
Oh yeah, we always had turkey on both.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
And I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know. That's like, I think Halloween, especially in LA, is just like has gotten this like big push. And I don't know. I just feel like it's overrated.
Halloween's overrated?
I've spent so much money. Yes, it is.
Dude.
I've spent so much money on Halloween events. We went to Delusion.
I don't know what that is.
Delusion is this weird haunted house that's also like a community theater experience where
I can
like
do that.
It's like immersive where you're in it and you're being moved through the house to help solve a mystery while monsters are coming at you.
Nope, not my thing.
It was so weird, so funny because obviously it was a bunch of comedians there, and at the end, like we were all hanging out outside and Lance Bass was there from NSYNC.
Yeah,
and we're all just like, this is the weirdest night of my life, right? Just. It was like we were saying it's like describing Delusion was like trying to do a Stefan bit from Saturday Night Live where you're just like explaining all the that happens in it and you're like, I know none of this makes sense, but it's awesome. All right. Shout out to Jeff May, believe there's no better streaming service than Tubi to watch Armand Asante movies. Pluto got a Jeopardy channel, by the way. That's very exciting. Shout out to the Itty Bitty Millie Committee who pities the fool. Shout out to Kelly says, get your booster, you gaslighting dip turds.
Dip turds.
Dip turds.
I've never heard that before, and I love it.
It's a good one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember my dad called somebody a touch hole once, and I was like, well, I'm keeping that in my
touch hole.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm keeping that in
That's a great band name.
The touch hole in dip turds.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the guy who played JJ in Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon. Shout out to Lisa Harden, my co-producer at Mint on Card. Jessica Robertson, Silius Ruby, The Digital Phil, The Ghost of Dave Thomas, The Great Radvertising Scam, a Jeff May joint. I'm still working on it. It's coming. Aaron Meyer, El Celdo would like to thank you, Jeff, for introducing us to your cool friends. There you go. That's very exciting. Somebody wrote there, in Soviet Russia, we have cool Jeffs twice. Wow. Getting greedy, Soviet Russia. It was me, Jeff. I've been giving you $10 a month since the beginning so you could afford more gas station Pop-Tarts, keeping you sluggish. Just slow enough for me to steal Christmas. Road trip food. I know you drink Red Bulls, right?
I mean, I'm more of a Rockstar energy drink organic guy. The Passion Island fruit or something like that is my favorite, but the Red Bull Yellow is a good when that's not available.
When you're road tripping, say you're driving to Ohio.
That happened.
What's the snack?
4 days.
What's the sweet and what's the savory snack that you grab?
So I'm a trail mix guy because you can just like pick up the bag and just dump some in your mouth and get a variety of things, you know, like not like without feeling like all sluggish because I can't eat heavy stuff that, you know, I just don't like being in a coma while I'm driving. So I try to like energy stuff, you know.
So you're a trail mix guy.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's very Colorado of you.
I try to stay away from like chips, even though I'm a salty guy actually. Yeah. So anything salty, I'm not like I don't know. That's it.
A standard chip or like a salt and vinegar
chip? I love,
chip,
dude, like jalapeno chips are my favorite. Like spicy without being like so spicy. I have to pull over the car often, you know?
They're a little bit pricey, but I've been really enjoying wild chips. They're chicken. So instead of a potato, they're made out of like a chicken, and it's like some kind of
like dehydrated chicken.
It's probably like it's like chicken mixed with like a tapioca to give it like the firmness to it.
Oh.
And they flavor them out, but they taste so friggin' good.
Oh, cool.
They have like a chicken and waffle flavor.
Oh.
It has like a maple dust on it, and I never wanted to try them, and I finally did, and I was like, all right, these are my favorite ones.
Oh, that's crazy.
They're so good. And they have great flavors, and it's good because like I don't like the carby, I don't like but those are good. But I love gas station Pop-Tarts, man.
What's your Pop-Tart?
I have it's two depending on the situation. My go-to, if they have it, is always going to be cherry because it's sort of like a neglected flavor, you know. But I do like the brown sugar cinnamon.
Dude, brown sugar cinnamon was my jam as a kid.
So
I used to eat those all the time.
Because they're good. They're just like
Agreed.
it's such a tasty treat. I love them so much.
I'm with you.
Shout out to Cronenberger Meisterburger. Shout out to 3 Jacob Tremblays in a trench coat sneaking into an R-rated movie. Shout out to my friend Parker Aylesworth, who is not that tall. He just has fake legs. Shout out to Christy Salinas. Kale's only true purpose is as the garnish at a 1996 Pizza Hut buffet. Do you have what's your favorite like garbage pizza? Because you're a pizza guy, right?
I love pizza.
You
I
do.
believe there's only good pizza and amazing pizza. Like even like the garbage pizzas, like I still like it.
Do you have like so are you an every pizza guy? Like is Pizza Hut and Domino's and Papa John's, that's all equal to you? Like,
I don't know if I'd say equal. Like, so I used to work at Domino's Pizza for a long time. So I'd probably bias towards that. I know people would probably be the opposite because they're sick of it, but I'm a creature of habit. So Domino's is probably like my jam.
I bet when you worked at Domino's though, it was a totally different pizza than
it
they
was.
have now.
It was before they did like the crust overhaul and stuff.
So good.
It's so good. Yeah, it was. I still loved it back then. Maybe because with my discount, I'd get a large pepperoni pizza for $3.81 after tax, which was amazing.
Yeah, because it's like a dough ball. Back then, it was like the quality wasn't particularly great.
I don't know, but yeah, I didn't know how much like Domino's really revolutionized like online app purchasing for like food. They're like, oh, you can check out your order online and see where it's at. They were like really the first ones to do that, which is crazy.
They were the ones that did it where you could just send a pizza emoji to a number, and if you had, they would send you would pick up your saved. It's a brilliant marketing thing.
That's
where
cool.
it was like you would order it by texting them the pizza emoji, and if you were in the database, you had to like set up like your order. And if you ever wanted your order, you would just do that. That's brilliant. That's like when Starbucks did the thing where they were writing everybody's names wrong.
On purpose?
And everybody was like, what a stupid thing. And then they were like, I'm going to go. I'm going to go see how they misspell my name.
I didn't know they did it on purpose. That is genius. Because I feel like I would do that on purpose if I worked there. Like I have probably like a whole episode's worth of Domino's stories that none of them are like gross. Like I think people always worry about like gross fast food. Like where I worked, we're actually not the gross people, which is great, but there's some fun Domino's stories.
Pranky stuff, like silly
kinda,
stuff.
Or just weird, like I feel like there could be a whole one season's worth of television of Domino experience that I had.
I had a similar thing at Foot Locker when I worked with my brothers. And whenever me and my two brothers were the only people working, the sales numbers were off the chart. And they couldn't figure out why, because my brother was the manager. My brother was an assistant manager. And so he would be in charge of me and my other brother.
Was he the assistant to the regional manager?
No, he was the assistant regional manager. But so they finally figured out that when we were no longer having this weird oversight and allowed to interact with the customers the way we felt comfortable, that we would do very well. So my brother basically was like, if you want this store to do well, leave us alone.
Yeah, let us do us, man.
And it worked really well. But we used to do we would do just silly shit all the time. Like we would because we're dressed as referees, we would carry penalty flags and throw them up at people, or like when it was just
they chose the wrong shoe. You'd throw a red flag at them. Like, get out of the store.
The yellow, we would have that yellow, the yellow flag that the football refs throw up in the air.
I was thinking soccer, like where you get a yellow flag or a red flag.
And it was just fun. And you know, that really is like, there is something to be said about those jobs that you had back in the day when you were finding your footing, that like freedom. It's very like American Beauty when he's just like, I miss working at a restaurant, at a McDonald's or something like that. Did you ever work in fast food? Oh, you worked in
Domino's.
Domino's. Yeah, I guess that tracks. Yeah, that
That
counts.
was like my first and only job before I got a job at Gentle Giant Studios. My first like art job.
Really? So you went from Domino's to Gentle Giant.
Mm-hmm.
I
Gentle Giant to Sideshow. Kept going up, then Tweeterhead. Went from the biggest statue company to smallest statue company.
Yeah, because once you've hit that apex, though, like you're like, all right, now I want to build something back up.
Yeah,
again.
dude.
Like
I mean, I didn't mean that as like a negative at all. Like Chad and I actually joke about it all the time, and I love it. I love work for like a super small.
No, that it's not. It's a challenge to be able to do that and build. Like if you worked at the tops, you worked for Coca-Cola, and then like, okay, I was watching the documentary on like The Simpsons, and they talked about how like building up Fox meant that a lot of people that worked for NBC and were leaving to build up this fledgling company because they already were at the mountaintop.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a good challenge for a lot of people. Anyway, shout out to @thepajamarai on Instagram for pictures of my feats of strength. Shout out to verbose minimalist, world's most humblest man, Adam Warlock. He wants your soul. Ass of Bass, the local man @Gavin_Not with 2 T's. Jen, be earnest, enjoy what you love. That's such a sweet thing to put in the middle of this cesspool of words here. Nicholas, simply having a wonderful man bun time. Fabian, I worked at Toys R Us. That song.
Is this a producer?
Every 40 minutes. No, this person.
I worked at Toys R Us.
I did. But I worked at Toys R Us seasonally.
So when I was why seasonally? Just because it was like, oh, Christmas is when they need to like hire more people.
Yeah, because it was when I was a teacher, and I just was like, well, I could use what I really was like. I want access to all the best during the toy run. If I wanted to get a Nintendo DS when they came out, I would just be like, hey, hold on to a DS for me.
Yeah,
because I worked there.
Smart. Yeah.
The height of Marvel Legends. When they were doing those, like when the Deadpool Marvel Legends came out, that's when I was working there. And that thing was immediately like $120.
Yeah.
Which was really fun. But that was interesting. You ever man bun out, or do you just like let it hang?
I man bun when I need to, not like out of like style, but like at Comic-Con I actually did the man bun quite a bit because like switching, like I just, my hair down with a mask on, and then I'd put with my hair down, putting a mask on, I get caught all the time, and I had a backpack. I'm like, dude, screw it, put it up in a man bun.
Yeah, that's not smart. Gotham City OSHA. Shout out to Jeff May convinced me to quit Twitter, and you should quit too because it's awful. I agree that Twitter is awful, but I'm not leaving to spite Elon Musk. Like that's how strongly I feel about that at this point in time. Also, like, I saw somebody that was like, looks like I'm just going to be on Instagram. And it's like, do you not know who owns that? Because I hate to break it to you, but
I'm reserving judgment to see what happens with Twitter. I can't imagine being like a bad place. I don't know. I mean, it's already a bad place. I can't imagine it being worse. A bad place. I mean, I don't use it.
Well, they said as soon as he took over, they said that use of the N-word went up 500%. It's like, Jesus. I don't care for pie. Ah, God, it feels so good to finally get that off my chest. You a pie guy?
I like pie. I don't seek it out. I'm not like, oh man, I gotta go find pie.
You go to a pie restaurant. You go to House of Pies.
I've been to House of Pies.
Okay, so you go to House of Pies. What do you order?
I'm an apple pie classic.
Dutch or classic American?
I don't know the difference.
Dutch has the crumblies on it, and a classic American has a standard crust topping.
Oh, I feel like I've done classic, I guess. Then.
Yeah. Try a Dutch apple pie next time. They're freaking delightful. It's a little more cinnamony and stuff.
I had boysenberry for a long time pie. Like my grandma made that. I believe it was boysenberry. I love that too. So
invented here in California.
Boysenberry pie?
No, boysenberries.
Really?
Invented at Knott's Berry Farm.
Dang, I did not know that. How did they get out to Missouri? Did they travel?
Yeah,
they hitchhike?
No, that's just general.
Did they roll there?
Yeah, right. That's exactly. They went on a road trip with the boys in berries. I'm a big blueberry pie fan. I came back to it. I used to be a chocolate pie fan, things like that. Key lime is and then a blueberry pie with a warm slice of blueberry pie with vanilla ice cream. An absolute delight. Shout out to Jocular Haggard, Cantankerous Fool, and Vortispin. Those are the names I have on the list. If you did not hear your name, it's because you did not put it onto the list, and make sure you get to me. Those are all of the sponsors at that producer tier. Thank you all so much for doing that. And again, just head on over to patreon.com/Jeff May, and you can have access to that, plus this show early, with uncensored, with bonus content, as well as other shows like Nerd. And Fine, my monthly podcast with Kim Crawl, who that's actually dropping also today. Also the day that this episode drops, because we drop it on the 1st of the month.
I compete
and
with
I'm competing with myself.
God.
Yeah. I'm very
Shark Tank would not be happy with you competing with yourself.
I'm very rigid about this though. I promise that the episode is going to be up on the 1st of every month of Ugh Fine, and I promise that on Tuesday, every other Tuesday is when Jeff Has Cool Friends drops. So if the 1st falls on a Tuesday where I have to drop it, that's just how it works. I'm not gonna break my word. I feel uncomfortable about that, which maybe I should calm down a little bit on that, about the whole, like, I get told a lot, like, I won't ever, if I am ever booked on a show, I won't cancel no matter what, no matter what the personal cost is to me, unless there's something super tragic.
Unless you have COVID and it's in person and you can't do it, unless you wear a beekeeper suit, I guess, you know?
Like, and Val told me, she's like, you need to be less, she's like, integrity is good, but maybe you need to not be as rigid about it as possible.
Maybe we'll bend a little bit.
I don't like, I don't know.
A little flexible, Jeff.
I don't know. It's interesting. So you have a couple of projects that you've done individually, and it's sort of like, I want to know more about these things, because first off, like the first thing in your like umbrella, it's Satellite Soda, right?
Yeah.
And as I was researching, it seems like it's like a graphics based. Like, tell me about Satellite Soda.
Satellite Soda. Oh man, that's been ever changing since it started. We started that when I was in college. Me and some college buddies who knew each other online. There's like early art forum days.
Oh yeah. What was the forum?
I was on a few. One was Artzilla, and that was run by Ed McGuinness. That was like Ed McGuinness's
I love Ed.
With LaShawn Thomas, Kieran Grant, and Sanford Green. And they're like, it was a really cool place. It was like my little online art home, you know?
Yeah.
And that was super fun. But so I was on a few different art forums. Eventually me and my friend were like, let's start our own. And a lot of these art forums had like artists that were, you know, kind of like the artists that were like, hey, this is our place to come hang out. And a lot of times they were like very similar art style wise. And I'm like, well, I draw black and white creepy stuff. My friend draws super cartoony, like sherbet rainbow colored stuff. So we're exact opposites. We should start a place together and celebrate art diversity.
Oh, cool.
And so that's what we did. Is my buddy Dylan McCrae. His art's amazing. His color choice is like bonkers. But if like you looked at my art back then, you're like, these two guys work together. That's nuts. But so it started as a forum. We had a mascot, little funky love bot. Then we made a villain forum. So we started making like characters and like fan art of our own characters. Didn't really have an established look. Then we were trying to work on like a story and a movie for that, but it was like not set up well at all for that, because we didn't have like an LLC or ownership or anything. So we just kept it as like, hey, let's just make this a thing. It's like a party. So
a very artist thought to have. It's just to not really establish the minutia of it, and just be like, we're just making art, man.
Yeah. So now I'm kind of rebranding it. Actually, starting at this designer con as Satellite Soda Presents, it'll be a giant banner that promotes individual artists. So like anyone can show up. This is like my buddy Zach Cross, who goes by Zach the Wizard on Instagram. He's going to be there with his stuff. I'll be there with my Monster stuff. So Satellite Soda is more like the hangout for people to show their
It's
wares.
like the umbrella. It's you know what? It's the Image Comics of an art thing, where it's like, it is its own thing, but it uses its name to get other people out there.
Yeah, except it won't go to like public. It won't be like, oh, Satellite Soda, the publishing. It'll just be like literally a banner at conventions for now. So
because so like Satellite Soda, you guys, as I was researching, it was mostly like graphic based things, a lot of stickers, a lot of T-shirts. It's sort of like, it's like you're selling this vibe of what you guys are doing. It's like, we're doing fun art, and then from there, the product that I most equate you with at this point is Monsters, which so tell me about Monsters.
Yeah, so Monsters is something I started last year and a half ago, as a result of me looking at my like action figure collection on my shelf, which is like He-Man, Ninja Turtles, Street Sharks, and all that stuff, and like looking at it and be like, what's missing? Like, what are the things I want to go with all these other things? And the first thing I thought of was like some sort of, even though Street Sharks are awesome, it was like, add more Ninja Turtles in my collection. I think I was like, what's the character Ninja Turtles I'm missing, kind of a thing. So I would like, I would love to see like a shark type character. Oh, a killer whale is cool. Oh, maybe I'll mix it with this, because I love creature design. That's always been like my DNA since going to art school. Was originally I want to get like work at whatever ILM as like a creature designer, so that's always been there.
Yeah.
But then in like the last 5 years ish since working at Sideshow on those He-Man statues, I was like really reconnecting with like my childhood, and I'm like, you know what? I love Motu, love Ninja Turtles, love all this weird, wacky 80s, early 90s stuff. So I want to infuse some of that back into what I'm working on. So I reached out to my buddy Erwin Papa, who's an amazing designer, artist on Instagram, or I mean, not just on Instagram, but that's where you find his work. But I reached out to him like, dude, you want to work on some stuff with me? You know, like I made an LLC, kind of made it all work for hire. So I try to correct my mistakes at Satellite Soda and kind of like make it all, from the get-go proper. And I reached out to him and he's like, dude, totally. So I pitched him some ideas. I'm like, this is this line. I want to make it all like two-legged, buff arm, animal hybrids. I came up with a list of animals, and the first two was Shamumu, which is orca meets bull cow, because the black and white graphic thought that'd be a cool thing to mix together. And then Sting Cobra, which is like a cobra head with a scorpion claw and a scorpion tail. And I'm like, these things look cool. And so I pitched it to Erwin. He did some designs. I'm like, dude, these are awesome. So we just came up with a whole list of things. And the idea is like a 5.5-inch toy line.
The energy for these, because you also do mini ones as well. And the best way that I described it, or the best way that I could view it is if you mixed Battle Beasts and Masters of the Universe together. That's sort of the energy. Because I bought your Gillman mini because I liked it. I thought it looked really cool because you started like the first consumer product you ever put out, right? Was these 3 minis.
Yeah, so that actually started before Monstores, because I just commissioned my buddy Paul Komoda, who's an amazing artist. I'm like,
because he did the Gillman for Tweeterhead as well, right? He did a lot of that work.
He did a design and a lot of the sculpting on it too. And I'm like, and this is actually before that, so before the Tweeterhead Gillman, I'm like, I really want just like this early 2020. I'm like, I really want just Paul Komoda little Gillman. I got like huge in the muscle figures, Keshi figures.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, hey, let's just do like a muscle inspired, Gillman. And I actually have these Street Shark ones that Mattel made. And so I sent him a package of them. I'm like this, size. Of course, he designed and sculpted this awesome Gillman. It's a tiny bit bigger. I'm like, this is awesome. I want a Cthulhu.
Yeah, it's about 2.5 inches tall.
Yeah, he's exactly 2.5 inches tall.
Oh, wow,
I just measured him. Yeah. And then, so he did a Cthulhu. Cthulhu's about 3 inches. He got bigger. I'm like, you know what? Let's just round it out with like a 3-piece set. They're all sea related. So we have Gillman with Cthulhu. Let's do a little crab monster. So he did that. I'm like, this is awesome. And so throughout like 2020 and early 2021, he designed, sculpt these things. I'm like, hey, let's really show these off at DesignerCon. I'm going to have some resin castings by then. So for DesignerCon last year, I kind of like announced Monstores, the Instagram page. And the main effort with Monster is going to be this 5.5-inch figure line. But to fund some of that stuff, it's fun to have some like immediate, things you just get out there in the world and share with people. So the like Monsters proper is like the like creature hybrid stuff. And then these little minifigures, the ones that you got, are just like random things. This is kind of like whatever else comes out of our heads, we can make little figures of that we can just fast turn around. So,
did you ever play with the Supernaturals toy line as a kid?
I don't know that one.
So they were like, you would get like a knight or like an Egyptian character, and it was like you got this body, and it was like really like 5 points of articulation, or something like that, or 4. It was 4 points of articulation. Not particularly great toys, but they had holograms.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
And there was a Viking, and there was a knight, and it was all this stuff. But then they also had these mini versions of them that were just little ghosts, and they were all little ghosts, and they were all like kind of like generic ghosts. And so that's kind of like the thing where it's like these side characters that are like slightly smaller than what you have, about half the size.
Yeah, it's also like with Ninja Turtles, how you can get a character and they come with like that little tiny character that's one color and that's all it is.
The Muckman and then Joe Eyeball.
Yeah, Joe Eyeball.
Wingnut and Screw Loose.
Yeah.
Geez, what else was there?
There's a ton of them, but those are like the 2 known ones for sure. But like that to me is kind of like these could fit in like that or whatever. It's a little bit random, but like.
So you started Sting Cobra and then Shamumu.
Yeah.
And now we have Bear Zerker, which is a bunch of bears.
Yep.
mixed
It's a bear
together,
made of bears. Yeah. With
which is-
tiger legs
which is
for no
great.
reason. Yeah.
as well as 2 silhouetted pieces. Escar Bro, which I'm going to assume is a snail.
Snail lamprey mix.
Snail lamprey mix.
So lamprey is like the weird little leechy looking,
Yeah.
like they have the little sucker mouths, but if you look at their mouths close up, they're like this, like just circular
It's a
row of
ring
like
of
shark teeth. Yeah,
right?
it's like what? So I thought that'd be a cool hybrid.
Reminds me of like the Minox from lamprey. The Minox in Empire Strikes Back.
Yep.
And then Bone Picker, which you've only done as a silhouette so far on what you did, but I'm gonna guess it is a vulture
hyena
mix. Oh, great! Oh, that's awesome.
And then last year, DesignerCon. So actually, I brought a book with me at DesignerCon last year. So we had Shamumu as a work in progress sculpt, just to show people like this is a thing, you know. And then I had a book, and then I had the little mini monsters there to sell, and then I had a book showing kind of like Shamumu with the black and white rendering because it felt like the 3D print I had there didn't show that element
it was
off.
Gray, right?
Yeah. It was just also just show like how it's like, oh, it's a cow meets killer whale kind of a look, you know? And then I had Irwin's concept art, which I thought was really strong. And then people could see the color for like him, and then they got to see what Sting Cobra looked like. And then we had 4 silhouettes. So Bone Picker was one, Escar Bro was one, and my buddy Mandy, who you know, came up with that name. I wanted this snail lamprey guy, and his name was Snail Bro until I could figure it out. So she came up with Escar Bro. I'm like,
that's
oh my
great.
God.
Yeah, Mandy's great.
Yeah, she's awesome.
What a delight. By the way, I would like to add that when we were driving back from San Diego, trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about is how much we just really liked the energy of the booth.
Yeah. No, we had a good group.
There, yeah.
You, Val, Mandy. Yeah. No, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So
these are real quick because you're going to be at DesignerCon, which is, I don't know if people know this, my favorite convention of the year.
It's
great. DesignerCon.
Yeah, it's super cool.
It really is the best con if you like weird art, just fun. If you like artists and art. And I was telling somebody about this where it's the only place you can go and see somebody like Jim Fletcher, who was responsible for DC's entire collectible line for like 20 years.
Yeah. Still,
and you see him with a little table.
Yep.
Trying to tell people like, check it out. These are my Flipitoons, and it's a monster one way and a monster the other, and they're awesome.
Yep.
And it's just like these people that are like, I also bring my own wares here.
Yep.
Which is sort of like what Satellite Soda was doing. While you're like, yes, I know I was working on the Chitara statue for Sideshow, but also check out the I'm doing that's not licensed.
Yeah.
That's really fun, and I really love that. And so that's going to be in November. That's soon, right? November
18th through the 20th at Anaheim Convention Center.
And I'll be there.
I better be.
I'm absolutely going to be there.
That's fun. It's definitely like designer vinyl focused, a lot of like Sufubi stuff and, you know, artist vinyl kind of stuff. But
it's where I met my friend Science Patrol, who he was a listener of Unpopular Opinion, and we kind of like bumped into each other. And he was like, "Oh my god, it's so nice!" And then he showed me what he does.
Yeah.
And if you saw my vinyl shelf over there, then most of that was his.
Yeah.
That's the shit. And so now I'm a fan of his, and he came on and did the show and blah, blah, blah. And it was awesome. But like, that's what DesignerCon's all about, where you meet people like Alex Party, where you meet Wizard of Barge, Dave Igo, these people that are these people that exist in this really cool world, and you get to go see them. And they're like, it's not this crazy San Diego Comic-Con Shark Tank where people are fighting for Funko Pops.
Yeah. I mean, they did bring Funko a couple years ago, which was like, Funko. I mean, like, Funko's amazing in their own way, but it was fun. Like, it feels like that was bringing the giant corporation to like the fun small thing, which is, I get it.
Well, the Sideshow did that too, because they went undercover as Unruly Industries, and then everybody saw through it immediately. So then the next year they were like, we're just Sideshow, like it's fine. Because Unruly, they got into the designer toys thing as well.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't have to be like a Batman Arkham version. It can be, here's a melting Spider-Man or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really fun. But yeah, to see, and then because Funko bought Mondo, and Mondo's always been a big presence there too. So it's all part of it.
Yep.
So that's really exciting. Satellite Soda has a booth in which Monstores is going to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know where you're at yet, or is that not a thing?
I have the booth number on my Instagram. I'm gonna check real quick because they just gave it to us, and I have it right here. I'm not delaying at all. I swear
It's
to
all
God.
good.
Booth number 925.
So if you want to go to booth 925, if you're there, then hell yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely check that out. Also, and this is like the other thing I want to talk about. You teach ZBrush.
Mhm.
So you teach artists how to digitally sculpt.
Yeah.
The enrollment of people that have been in your classes reads like a Comic-Con. I mean, you taught Olivia how to do ZBrush, and she just recently announced her statue.
Yeah.
That she sculpted on her own.
Yeah, she gives me some credit for that, which is kind of nuts because I just helped her get started in ZBrush. And then my she did a lot. I think it was a sculpt Mark Newman started. She went in, reworked. She's very particular and she's self-admitted this way. She's like, I need to really like make this my own. And so she handled a lot of it with my TA James Cha was really helping out Olivia day to day on that project with her other friend Martin who helped design that base. But yeah, it's crazy because a lot of people think like, oh, I'm too old to learn digital sculpting or whatever. I'm like, dude, Olivia took my class. She's 70. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
You know, like what the hell? No excuse.
Adi
you know?
Granov was another example of that.
Yeah.
Of taking your class. Somebody that was essentially one of the visual architects of the MCU by sort of being the designer of Iron Man, you know, for the 2008 project. You know, you see that, and it's funny. Like that's a good example of when you see all the MCU like concept art, and it's mostly Andy Park. You know, he tends to be like the guy that tends to be the visual. But it was Adi Granov before that.
It was Ryan Meinerding and Adi and Phil Saunders were like the three original, and then Andy came on later. Andy's awesome. So it's like,
yeah, he's so cool.
Yeah, Ryan and Andy are definitely like the heads of that, and they have a amazing team that they work with. But yeah, it was cool to like teach Adi because I've known Adi now for a while because of because of Sideshow. You know, like I was like, hey, let's work with this guy Adi Granoff. Let me just reach out to him. He's like, oh, totally. And I'm like, he's such a cool dude. So
was that Mark too? Did you know Mark Brooks?
I knew Mark before Sideshow a bit, and then through Sideshow we kind of reconnected. So I knew him back in the old art form days. I forgot if his was Draw Stick, I believe was his with Ali Garza. I think they had their own art form. Yeah, back. And then I think Mark before that was on Lead Heavy. I think he was on Lead Heavy with Scotty Young and Kari Randolph and a few others. So
dude, Scotty, did I ever tell you Scotty Young? Do you know how long I've known Scotty Young?
Mm-mm.
Since 2004.
Oh, it's
like we like it was like he had just gotten, I think, Human Torch for Mark. It was like his big break, so to speak. And I went to his table at a con and was just like, hey man, like I've been picking up your book. I really dig your style. And this was, you know, he was still new with his style, but it was something very refreshing. And there was like nobody came up, like people didn't care.
Yeah.
And I got a sketch from him, like a full page sketch for $15.
Don't broadcast that now.
And I think about,
man, I undersold that hard.
I mean, he was young at the time, so you know. But man, that was cool.
Scotty's really cool. Yeah, I think the first time I met him was, I think it was like 2001 Comic-Con was the first time I met, and that's when I went to Comic-Con on my own from Colorado after I graduated college and met him. And Kari Randolph and Sean Galloway goes by Cheeks. They were the two that really kind of like took me under their wing because I was like a kid that just graduated from school, but I knew them online, and we snuck into the Marvel party together, and that was super awesome. That's when I met Zeb Wells for the first time. Was at Comic-Con too. Yeah, and we're like, oh, we're both from Colorado. What? So yeah, that was a really meaningful. 2001's Comic-Con was a really big one for me. So
yeah, I couldn't make it out to that. My first Comic-Con was 2007.
I thought it was 2004.
No, my first San Diego was 2007. No, I was going to basement cons since the 90s whenever I was able to get dropped off there by my parents.
Oh, that's cool.
My first real Comic-Con that I was able to access, it was sort of like a post-college. It was 2004. So it was my first year of teaching. And I started driving to like Wizard Worlds, actually, like Wizard World Philly and Wizard World Chicago. I would fly out to, and that was like it seemed like I was making decent enough money, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna actually
treat myself, go do something.
And that was really fun. Okay, so we're gonna end this episode. I'm gonna keep you for a little bit because we're gonna talk about some bonus content.
Bonus
But
content.
I do realize I've kept you for a little bit longer than I was supposed to. That is my bad. So, Dave, social media. How do we find you? Instagram.
Yeah. So, I mean, my main job, which I love to death, is Tweeterhead. So Tweeterhead's on mainly Instagram, Facebook. They have the Twitter kind of, not really. And
I tried getting Twitter. I got in trouble for some of the stuff that I tried to do for Twitter.
I think that's just at Tweeterhead. And then my personal Instagram, which I have a lot of my own personal art, which has been fun, is at David Igo stuff. That's Instagram. And then my Monstores is at the Monstores on Instagram. And I'm not on Twitter really at all. I think I tried to start one. I just don't know how to do it. I don't know Twitter. Plus, I hate the name. Not like just tweeting and twits and Twitter. I'm like, bleh. So I just stayed away from it.
So the Monstores, if somebody wants to get those, because obviously not everybody can make it to an Anaheim convention or something like that. Yeah. So like if somebody's like a collector and they want to get these, like what would be the best way? Is there like a mailing list or something? Like how do you get a Shamumu 5.5-inch action figure?
So we're working on how we're going to launch. It's either going to be, I'm just going to self-fund it and make them, or it's going to be a Kickstarter event, or maybe a company wants to produce them. Not sure yet. So it's in the early stages of just show and tell.
You should do Kickstarter.
I think that'd be a fun way to do it. So for now, it's just at the Monstores on Instagram, and that's where like I make all my main posts. Whenever little figures are available, like the Gill Man, Cthulhu, Krabby, and then we're working on a new wave 2 of little minifigures, and that is something big and awesome for DesignerCon.
A new wave, huh?
Yeah, and it may or may not have been done digitally. We may or may not be making them in 2 sizes because they're really awesome. And
that was, the 2 sizes thing has been interesting because I saw what happened when Sideshow and Tweeterhead were doing the new sizes, because you were doing the quarter scales as well as the 6 scales, and people were like, why?
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you care? Just like get the one you want.
Yeah, if you want core scale, get core scale. But this is different. It's my own little thing. I'm like, these.
Do it.
Like
that'll be fun. What would be the other size be?
So it depends on what the subject matter is, and maybe they have to go to DesignerCon to find out, or follow at the Monstores on Instagram. So it's going to be, I haven't announced yet. That's why I just want to hold that back.
Fair enough. We don't have to. But the Monstores is TheMonstors.
Because the idea is eventually, and I'm going to show this at DesignerCon because we're going to have Sting Cobra as a 3D print also. You can swap the arms and the head. So the idea is like, or this, or this, or this. I want it to be very like swappable, swap and play.
Yeah. I mean that's pretty rad though. That's rad as hell. Dave, I love you, man. You're such a good dude. You're one of my favorite people to talk to and hang out with, and just an absolute delight. And you really do. You're one of those people that meshes with everybody, and it makes me furious at how good you are at that.
Thanks.
It's infuriating.
It's I don't know. It's just like part DNA. Like my parents are kind of that way, and then part like how I was raised, because I have a twin brother, so you're just like used to interacting from like in the womb to outside the womb. You know. Yeah.
You're very likable. So everyone follow Dave. Check out the Monstores. Check out Satellite Soda. Check out Tweeterhead. They've got some really, really great stuff. Obviously, I've said that before. I've said the Tweeterhead thing plenty of times before, but you're all fantastic. If you are listening for free, thank you so much for your ears. You are the best. If you want to, head on over to patreon.com/JeffMay, where you can get access to this as well as other shirts, early access, uncensored episodes with bonus content, which we're going to do in a little bit. You can also check me out on social media at Hey There Jeffro, HeyThereJeffro. If you want to see me live, Mint on Card is the second Friday of every month at Blast from the Past in beautiful Magnolia in Burbank, which means the next show, 11/11. Happy Veterans Day. Have some comedy.
And I can say this without bias. I've been twice, and I should go more. It's an awesome fun time. Super, 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 super fun time. Really enjoyed it.
The best thing I've ever heard is when a comedian walked up to me after the show and said, every ingredient of your show should torpedo your show, and your show works better than any other show I've done.
That's awesome.
Like all the ingredients are wrong, but it ends up being perfect because of it.
I think all the ingredients are great. So maybe he and I just disagree on.
Like the lights shouldn't be on. Like you shouldn't. The store shouldn't be open. No, it shouldn't be. It's one of the. There's no alcohol. It's
That's
like,
true.
It's like one of those things
there.
where like people like it doesn't seem to like. it doesn't seem to work, and yet it works so well. But you can check that out. You can also hear Tom and Jeff Watch Batman on the Gamefully Unemployed Network, and Unpopular Opinion and You Don't Even Like Sports, both on the Unpops Network. Dave, say goodbye to everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. It was awesome.
Thank you, everybody. You're the best. For you patrons, we'll see you in, I don't know, like what, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 8. I don't know how long the editing process goes for this. But see you soon.
Hey everyone, our artwork is created by Justin T. Brown, who can be found at Artness by Justin Brown on Instagram, as well as artnessbyjustinbrown.com. That dope music you heard is by Troy Nababon, available at Troy Nababon on Instagram, as well as at troynababon.com. Nababon is spelled Nababon.